Hey guys, thank you so much for joining yet another episode of the Unruly Hour with Savage Joy. Tonight I have a candidate back who I actually had 2 years ago, Miss Angelica Dueñas from California, running for U.S. House 29. So thank you so much for joining me again, Angelica.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Absolutely. So you've made it through the primaries. You are good to go and voting in November. So tell us about that experience. Why did you decide to run again? And what are you doing differently than you did last time?
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason why we decided to run again was because we felt that we did pretty good under the circumstances last time around. We knew Bernie Sanders was going to run again. And, we wanted to be able to help and be a part of, at the time, right, we thought that, we were trying to be a part of this big giant team of people to really take over and facilitate Bernie Sanders being able to make his platform a reality. So that's, some of the main reasons why we ran. We're running again because we didn't see anybody else running on the issues that we care about. And last time around, we ran Green Party. This time around, we're running Democrat. We're running Democrat because, strategically, we wanted to make sure that, one, we were able to help Bernie since at the time he was still he was going to be in the race. And because we wanted to make sure that we increased our chances. Green Party back in 2018 was 0.3% of the vote, the voting registered voter here in the district, and we were able to get 6.5% of the vote. So we did pretty good under the circumstances. And so it really talks about this district and how it's ready for change. And we really wanted just to increase our chances. And, we want to yield power to be able to make the changes happen, to be able to strengthen third party, to be able to really make the real changes that we need happen. But first we need to get that power to make those changes a reality. So, strategically, we just felt that this was our best option to get a win here in the district. And so far, it has shown us that it was a good move, and that now that was actually the hardest part, was getting through the primary. Now we really it's just Tony and us, and it comes down to if we can get our ground game and our digital game strong enough to make that win a reality. Since with COVID, now we have to really depend also on social media much more than we would have before.
Absolutely. And I did actually see on your Twitter that you guys have started canvassing.
Yes. So right now we are doing a no-knock canvassing, which is we are doing door hangers. So we have identified our local voters who would be more likely to vote for us and who are independent, and we're hoping we can go ahead and earn their support and get them out to vote. And we are getting started on that. It's going pretty good since it's no knock, no talking, unless people are wanting to and they're comfortable, but we really don't want to pressure anybody into getting into unsafe and unhealthy situations and stuff like that. But we do really feel that it's very important to get the word out that we have a corporate-free candidate that's running on Medicare for all, Green New Deal, affordable housing as a right, and who is not taking any corporate funding, and who is ready to fight for our community, right? And it's really been a great response. The people who are wanting to have conversations, they're nice, they're great, and they're looking for changes. So if things are looking up, so if you're local, please sign up to volunteer and come out. And we're doing safe, healthy, no-knock canvassing. We have masks available. We have gloves available if you need them. And help us be part of history.
Now, speaking of Bernie, you were a delegate?
Yes, so I was a delegate both in 2018 and 2020. That's correct.
And what was that experience like? I mean, I was there in 2016, but I was marching on the outside. I wasn't on the inside. I was one of the protesters. So what was it like this time? Because I'm hearing all kinds of stories and it just pisses me off.
I mean, this time around, it was really just a show. I mean, we had to turn in our votes like before the convention even started. And all of the little like conventions and meetings and like during the day stuff, I guess, events that they had on Zoom were very pretty much restricted. If anybody like was voicing for Medicare for all or for any of these progressive things that, you know, that we care about, sometimes they were kicked off or sometimes they were just muted so that they couldn't make any sort of comments anymore. So it was definitely a controlled environment. This was not a convention where we're not deliberating anything. It was really kind of like sit down and watch and listen, which was very similar to what the idea was in 2016. Only this time around, they really were able to control it since we weren't there in person to express our disagreement or, you know, to cause a ruckus, one could say.
Absolutely. What was the feeling between you and the other delegates? Were you, I mean, just feeling kind of defeatist, or what was the overall, you know, sense of people's feelings?
I think in general, it was like a lot of thought as to like, how are we going to be able to still get our point across? Like it was, I think we were very concerned about what we saw coming. Like we saw this coming where they're not going to let us speak. We're not going to be able to express ourselves. We're not going to be able to defend, you know, Medicare for all, a Green New Deal and all the other issues that we care about. How are we going to be able to get our message across? So that was like our main concern. And I mean, how are we going to be able to do that? And, you know, as we saw, I mean, we weren't able to get through it. They didn't include Medicare for all in the new platform. When, I mean, if you stop and think about it, that's something that 80% of Democrats agree with. And like, you know, at this point, probably over 70% of U.S. population as a whole agree with, and they weren't even able to bring themselves to back that. So it's been quite disappointing, you know what I mean? Like there were some delegates that were very energized and very ready for the fight. There were some that were like, you know, very apprehensive. It's a little bit of everything. But I mean, we got to see that unfortunately our efforts, you know, were very much ignored by the establishment Democratic Party.
And during a pandemic, that's the worst part about all of this. It's like if there's not listening to we the people now,
when will they, right? When will they?
Yeah.
Like, if not now, when? Yeah, no, it's very, you know, it's very concerning. It's very disheartening. It's something that, you know, even my mother, a lifelong Democrat, has been able to see it where she's like, well, I'm sure as heck not going to vote for Trump, but blah, you know what I mean? I guess maybe, like, she's like, maybe I'll just skip it, you know. And I'm all like, well, Mom, you know, you really should think about it, you know what I mean, before you skip your vote. But you know, she's like, well, I already explained to her how the Electoral College works. She's like, well, I heard that in California it doesn't matter anyway. So, you know, but I'm trying to really emphasize that, you know, our vote counts, and we really, you know, need to research who somebody who maybe she best aligns with, right? So it's really disheartening. It's really disheartening to hear like lifelong Democrats saying like, wow, like I'm not even feeling it at all. You know what I mean? To the point that, you know, they might just skip it because it doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't feel good. And that's what I tell people. We deserve better, not less nasty. You know what I mean? I think that we can all agree that Donald Trump is a terrible president. He was a terrible candidate. And you know, Joe Biden, it's you know, slightly less bad, you know what I mean? But, you know, how is it that we got to this place? How is it that we got to here? And that's what the regular person is really starting to pay attention to. And it's like, wow, it's actually this two-party system that has let us down over and over again, you know?
Are you finding that some people are just saying, you know, I love your platform, but I cannot vote for a Democrat?
we've gotten a little bit of that in some regard. At the same time, I think people really, I don't know, like I think that we've done a pretty good job of showing where we stand on the issues, and very good job of letting people know that we are putting people before party. I am not a party loyalist. That's not something that I really believe in. You know what I mean? I believe in putting people first and listening to people, regardless of where you come from. I think that it's very interesting, but some conservatives are actually a lot more open to have a conversation, to figure out how is it that you got to where you got to. You might not agree at the end of it all. You might super disagree, actually, but they're actually curious to really kind of hear you out, versus maybe like a centrist Democrat that has already made up their mind and they already demonize your point of view and they're very closed off. So it's been very interesting. And it just really tells us that people are really looking for something different. So where we get even Republicans that go, you know what? I don't agree at all with any of the issues or the policies that you're actually pushing for that are your priority, but I trust you. I trust that you have the community's interests in mind, and I'm going to support you. I'm going to vote for you. So that it's been interesting how voters and how they vote and why they vote. You know what I mean? So I've learned a lot in these past couple of campaigns that, somebody's vote is not guaranteed. It's very much earned. And we're seeing it by the conversations that we're having, that people they take their vote seriously. And it's not as simple as party loyalty. And we're seeing that a lot more, which is very encouraging.
Absolutely. Now, this guy that you're running against, he's the epitome of, someone that I looked into, of course, to see who you're running against, and I absolutely could not figure out if he was a Dem or Republican. I couldn't figure it out. I had to go further. I'm like, wow, my word.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Al. Al said to keep the true facts coming our way. Thanks for your dedicated efforts. Thanks so much. Yeah, so one of the things that you posted the other day was your competitor there took over $100,000 from fossil fuel companies in the time that we're trying to get a Green New Deal.
Yeah.
And you yourself support a Green New Deal. So, are people understanding the difference of why that's so important?
Well, I think that the people that we have been able to have conversations with and be able to outreach to, absolutely. People are really much aware of our environment, the emergency situation that we're in. For a while there, I will admit, the Latino community, and working class community, we have so many problems, so many things going on that, like, in the environment was not a priority for a very long time. We always recycled. We always actually, like, you know what I mean? But it was more actually out of, let's be honest, out of like cost savings and to try and make some of our money back or what have you, right? You save your cans and you go take them in for your reimbursement. So we've been always very responsible ecologically, but now we actually are getting with it that, this is actually a priority, that our children's well-being is really depending on what we do now, right? Some people would say, like, maybe like some indigenous groups say, like, we're thinking 7 generations forward. We're really, really needing to think into the future, because what we're hearing, and I believe it very much so, that, if we don't make these changes in the next year or two, we literally, there's no turning back. And within, 50 years, the humanity might just be, done. So this is something that we're really, really coming around to. And this is something that we really are able to bring attention to that. Tony Cardenas being a member of, he only is a member of one committee, which is the Energy and Commerce Committee of all committees, right? Which is like the most powerful committee of them all. And if you take a look at all the things that they are responsible for, and then you take a look at all the donors that come, that finance his campaign, you stop and wonder, like, how can this not be a conflict of interest? The Energy and Commerce Committee is in charge for healthcare, energy, transportation, all of these things that, all of these corporate mega corporations are basically buying his vote, his support, his actions, his lack of actions. You know what I mean? It's really disgusting. And I think our community, being not aware of these things, they have been behaving and voting in a certain way. So once we are able to bring that attention to them, letting them know the facts, people are really looking for a different option. So our main, hurdle is really getting enough funding for us to be able to get the outreach out there to everybody who needs to know that we're out here, that we are an opportunity, an option for real change here in our district. I'm the first woman in over 15 years or 20 years to run in our area. I am working class. I am a mother. I have children who attend LAUSD schools. We don't have them in private school. None of that. We are part of our community. I'm not fighting for my community. I'm fighting right along with them because I am also in that struggle. My husband was laid off. He's on unemployment. We are at home teaching, having to do homeschool, trying to figure out how to get work done and also get, our children on task and making sure that they're keeping up with their education. We are also struggling with figuring out, are we going to be able to have enough money to pay our bills? Like, how much more do we have left in savings? All of that. We are part of a community. I am them, we are us. And it's time for working class representation to really take a big priority at all levels. Really, I believe that we need to seek out positions of power and occupy them. And we really need to oust every single incumbent that has been ineffective. And we need to give young voices a chance. And I'm just not talking young by age, but like young as far as new representation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cirrus 1976, People's Party to Infinity and Beyond. I'm okay with that. Angelica, did you watch the convention yesterday?
I watched a big chunk of it and it was amazing. It was so funny because the same way, because we'll have the kids and we're always doing this and that. And it was my son's birthday yesterday. So but I'll tell you one thing, it was so interesting. Every time I was able to check in, it was something really good happening. It was a very good conversation. It was a very amazing speaker. The highlights that I was able to enjoy of the People's Party convention was amazing, versus the Democratic and the Republican, conventions that seem so like out of just connection with reality. You know what I mean? So it was very interesting. I wish that it was a week long, just like they got, or like 4 days long, just like they got, because this was an amazing, an amazing use of people's time. It wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't like weird, just time fillers, you know what I mean, that they had. It was great.
Absolutely. So I digress a bit, but I always ask every candidate this, and I always get the same answer, but is your competitor willing to debate you?
From not that we've been able to successfully schedule. We've had a couple of organizations try to set something up, but no, not yet. We'd love to.
It's always that way. My guests always say, I want to, but yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, one of the things that's so beautiful about Burners, our movement, progressives, any way you want to say it, is we know our shit. Like, we'll be like prior votes, current votes, platform. We can tell you anything and everything about us and our opponents, but they don't want to be on a stage with that because they'll just be like, they know it's not going to be advantageous.
They tend to have so much baggage that they understand that if they were to go up there against someone that's really willing to challenge them, that they're going to be dead in the water. I mean, he has over 24 years of voting history for us to like rip apart. The fact that he's taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from big pharma, from the war industry. Just recently, he posted that he's going to be having a Zoom community meeting. I'm not sure exactly what he's calling it, but basically they're pushing a military academy school. So, which is crazy, especially since what we're seeing down in Fort Hood, that we're seeing that our kids, Latino kids are being disproportionately showing up dead, and which I believe with cover-ups involved. You know what I mean? When you're having body after body after body showing up, and these are kids that actually made complaints of abuse, sexual harassment, and other, there's a problem, right? And the Latino community, we have depended on the military as a tool to lift yourself out of poverty, which is really cruel. That you have to basically sign up and be a premeditated killer, almost like you're willing to kill somebody, right? That you don't know, in order to lift up your family, to lift up yourself out of poverty. That's really cruel and crazy. It's something that in the richest country of the world that shouldn't be. In order for somebody to feel that they can go and go to school after they do their tour or what have you, and be able to go to school without any big debt, because that's what they're concerned with. They're concerned with having access to healthcare, taking care of their family, whatever the case or motivation might be. That in the richest country in the world, these are the bare minimums that we should be able to have access to as literally just being human beings. And so it's really sick that we have Tony Cardenas, who's taking money from the war industry, who's pushing now this military academy. Well, at the same time, mind you, he is the chairman of the Latino Hispanic Caucus, and he raises money for the Bold Pack, and he's very good at getting Latino neoliberals elected across the country. So he's actually very dangerous for being as whacked and just silent in our district. In the back end, he's really good at really screwing our people, you know what I mean, and not really like being vocal about it. It's very slithery. And so he's very good at doing that. He's very good at raising money. He's very good at being very lukewarm. You know what I mean? He's neither hot nor cold. He's just like down the middle. He'll do something but not say it, so he can go back and be like, look, I went to the border. Look, there's a picture right there. Not a big deal. Doesn't bring it up unless he has to. It's very sick. And it's very premeditated. So I think that he's very dangerous. And it's somebody that we need to stop. And now, for being so quiet and really insignificant, part of Congress, he's actually applying for assistant speaker position. So it's like I'm flabbergasted. The audacity of the man for being somebody that has been so absent in our district and in Congress, period, that they're like, yeah, I've heard of his name, but I'm not sure who he is. That's crazy. And now he wants to be assistant speaker. It's like a joke. It's a sick joke that it's I don't even know what to say. It's something that this man needs to get out. We need to get rid of him. He's very dangerous, and we have a great opportunity here in our district. The people here in our district are ready for change, and a little bit goes a long way, because all of our monies, every single penny that we raise goes straight to the campaign and for outreach. We're not paying consultants. We're not paying family members or what have you. We're not employing people just to keep them, comfortable. we're actually spending every single penny in our campaign for our campaign. And, because we care, and this is very important. And honestly, like, I really can't believe that he's pushing for that military academy when he hasn't said a word on Vanessa Guillen, her murder, the cover up of Fort Hood.
It's egregious. Now, you also posted, somewhat related, but you also posted an urgent post, SB 731, the Kenneth Ross Jr. bill. And then I can give anyone who wants to take down Rendon's number, 916-319-2063. Do you want to explain a little bit about what that is and the importance of people insisting that it's passed?
Yeah, and that's I believe it was we did a couple. Was it the police one or was it the internet one? I'm sorry.
The police.
Okay. Yeah. So what we're trying to push for is that we need to get our community to really express themselves. If our representatives only do what they feel the community is looking for, what they want, and so we want to get our community to make these calls, shoot some emails, and really let them know that we need to have abusive police officers to be removed and not to be allowed to re-enter in our communities, to not be allowed to continue their jobs, and not to be allowed to be rehired. So they need to be put like on a list. Like, they need to be prevented from continuing the abuse that we've been seeing. So every once in a while, a police officer might be fired. But then we're also hearing that they very easily are able to move on and continue their abuse in a neighboring or in a different area. So that's what we want to make sure that our community really makes their voices heard, that we are serious about stopping police abuse. Furthermore, like defunding police and really funding care and funding people who are going to be able to answer to these calls that police officers shouldn't be answering. So, I mean, honestly, they're not trained for these sorts of things. They shouldn't be handling. So we need to also, like, this is not a bad thing. It's not an attack, you know what I mean, on cops per se, but it is, you know what I mean? It's an attack on the abuse. But what it is also facilitating for them to be able to focus on things that they should be focusing on, solving crimes, getting to the bottom of things that need to get to the bottom of. But at the same time, for us to be able to focus on preventing some of these things from becoming crimes, and to really be focusing on care and keeping people safe and from getting hurt on both sides of the spectrum, either from themselves and from being put in situations where police officers are being called for things that they shouldn't be handling. So, but most importantly, like, to prevent police officers that have already been identified as abusers to continue that pattern in neighboring communities.
Absolutely. And what is it like in California for those of us who, who live on the other coast or what have you? What is it like during all of this unrest with, the Floyd protests, which are now protests of so many other people? What is it like there? Is it a lot of protests still going on, or what's the scene like?
Yeah, I mean, there's like weekly protests that have been going on since before, and those are still happening, and they do emphasize on Black Lives Matter and other things that have come around. But yeah, I mean, not as intensely. I would say at the beginning we saw these massive manifestations, but it's kind of dying down, which is a little like disheartening because we really can't get comfortable. You know what I mean? And at the same time, we understand that with COVID, people are so, it's a scary time, right? And but I would say yes, it's still happening, but not as much as I would like for it to be.
Are you, on that note, are you kind of trepidatious that if Biden wins, and I do mean if, that people will kind of start, staving off the protests even more?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Are you worried that if Biden would win, that people would start, kind of relaxing even more and stop as much protesting, things like that?
That is a concern of mine. One of the things that I feel like it's those one silver lining, as far as being the presidency, I feel is just that people are coming out, they're paying attention, and it is a concern. I really am afraid of that because, I mean, we've even seen it in the protests themselves. If like Hillary would have won, we'd be out to brunch. I'm like, that would have been a problem too, because we can't let any of these people elected, if I win, me included, to be comfortable and to just be left to their own devices. We really need to hold our representatives accountable. So that's, yeah, it's definitely a concern because, but at the same time, I really do hope that we're able to organize and keep mobilized. And because people need to understand this is a long-term fight, regardless of what happens in November, like the fight's not over. So I think that that's the main thing that our challenge is for people to understand that this is like a really going to be for the long haul. I mean, people have been at this fight since like way back when, you know what I mean? People who have come and gone. So I think it's really up to us to motivate and to inspire everybody who's getting involved to understand that this is a really long-term fight. It's not something that overnight we're going to be able to win. It's getting easier. Real wins are happening. Don't get discouraged, but we're going to go through a lot of losses, you know what I mean, before we get to where we need to get to. And that's okay.
Absolutely. So you support Medicare for all, obviously. Now, what has, your opponent said as far as that? Anything specifically?
In regards to, I'm sorry?
In regards to supporting Medicare for all.
Oh, in public, nothing. Like there has been no outright public statement on that. From what we have heard, Medicare for all activists who have been pushing to hold meetings have been very much blown off. In fact, a couple of years ago, we went with a group of students who were trying to hold a meeting with Tony to try and discuss Medicare for all, actually. And it was a bit odd. The door was completely locked, like you couldn't even get into the building. They asked if we had an appointment. They didn't want to let people in at all. Eventually, they only allowed 2 students unaccompanied. They were like only the students, which was a bit weird, but what have you, it happened. They were able to get in there, and they allegedly had scheduled the date like that would work for both parties, but then it didn't happen. It ended up not happening. So it's basically that. There was this one other activist group that got in there under a different set of questions or like issues that they were going to discuss, and then one of them was able to slip in the question, not even to Tony, but one of his staffers. And the answer that they got was basically, we're looking into it, and we will be getting back to you. You know what I mean? That was basically it. And that was, I think, over a year ago as well. And they haven't heard back.
That's how mine is. I live right by Harrisburg. in Pennsylvania. So the Capitol steps are right by me. So I go drop off petitions all the damn time. And I always hear, you'll get a letter back. Please.
No.
Now I know
Yeah,
damn right well I'm not going
no.
to.
No,
You can't even
exactly.
send
They're
me a
really good at
template.
just avoiding you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They know me. They see me coming.
Yeah.
You support housing as a human right. Now, every single time I have candidates on from California, this is a major, major passion for them. So is there a lot of homelessness in your area? Is that something that you unfortunately witness?
Oh yeah. I would say that's something that has been getting worse the last 10 years progressively. Our district is incredibly been affected by homelessness. And it's a mixture of things. It's like both the lack of affordable housing, it's the lack of health care, access to health care, and the surrounding communities basically making homelessness illegal and people getting pushed out of those areas and end up, making their way over to our district, which we're very blighted already. So I think that even the city kind of turns a blind eye, and so allows the encampments and the RVs and stuff to kind of be there and be settled in which in one way it's like it's good that they're not harassing these people to the point that they're getting pushed out, although it does happen every once in a while. They have different areas that get completely swept out, and it's very devastating. You can see everybody's belongings just getting thrown in the trash. But it's very like, I don't know, I really can't pinpoint it, like what triggers them to displace some of these folks and not others. But what has been happening is that what we're seeing is a lot more people who are being with RVs, encampments, and people who like you wouldn't be able to like, you can't tell, but you can tell because of where they're parked. They have a nice car. Like you could tell that what happened is like something very recent. When we talk to these people, they have jobs. They're working. Is that they can't afford rent. So it's a mixture of people who are genuinely being displaced because of lack of affordable housing, because of mental health issues, and they're refusing help. And then there's other people who are actually working and they're just not able to hold it together and be able to pay their car bill, pay their house bill, pay their utilities. It's so expensive, So, and a lot of students that have even a hard time admitting to themselves that they're actually homeless. The fact that they're living out of their car and couch surfing, like, they're just, I'm in between places. You know what I mean? It's kind of how a lot of people see it. So it's really hard. Our district has been hit very, very hard. And with COVID, honestly, I think that, we're so stuck in our houses right now and people are not going out as much, me included. I can only imagine how, the consequences that we're going to be seeing very soon, because these eviction moratoriums, they're not being adhered to. People are being evicted. So it's really hard. It's really hard to be in a situation where you want to do so much, but you can't because you're in the same situation too. You know what I mean? And we're seeing it in our district. People are having a hard time.
That's heartbreaking. And how is your district handling COVID? How are they? Is the incumbent you're running against, is he receptive to people who need to go to the food bank, for people who need masks? How is he handling people who need help?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have not seen actually any actions from Tony. Like he's put out a few videos about wearing your masks and it's how it's important and stuff like that, and wash your hands, and we're gonna get through this together. You know what I mean? But as far as I know, I don't think that his office has coordinated any mutual aid efforts. I don't think his campaign has coordinated any mutual aid efforts. We have some local representatives that have like hosted a few food distribution and mass distribution events, but very sporadic. Like the groups that have been like steady have been church food distribution groups, honestly, in the area. These are the ones that have already, since before COVID, were doing the work, and now they're getting twice, some of them even triple the amount of people coming in and seeking out help. And so what our campaign has been doing, though, actually, is we have made connections with food distributors, and we actually have been able to transport and food from major distributors to like the local food distributors and facilitate resources for the valley, for the San Fernando Valley. So, I mean, we're trying our best with our limited resources. So it's really kind of crazy to see how these local representatives that have all of the resources to their disposal aren't utilizing it to help the community during this COVID pandemic. I mean, at least during this time, you know what I mean? Like, they really should be doing it every single day of the week. But it's really crazy to witness.
Absolutely. You have big money out of politics as on your platform, as everyone should. Why is that important to you? And did you decide to only take grassroots donors' money from the get-go?
Yes, no, I think that money in politics is really how we got to where we are. You know what I mean? And we have representation that has been sold out, that has been bought out, that are representing the corporates, and it's very clear to see. Being very vocal about stuff, and they're still ignoring those issues. And if you take a look at where their money comes from, it's very clear that they are being loyal to their corporate overlords. So we need to get money out of politics, period. I think that would help in alleviating a lot of problems that we're seeing right now, along with getting rid of lobbyists, along with getting rid of, what is it, the people, corporations or people, why am I blanking on that? The amendment. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking out. But basically, like amending. Thank you. Yes. Citizens United. I totally blank on that. We need to amend Citizens United and really take away that power that these corporations have. Because like, it was so funny when the bailout happened. I was like, so if these corporations are people, send them their $1,200 check and keep it moving, right? Like, why is it they're getting billions of dollars? It doesn't make any sense. You can't have it both ways. So all of these things that we need to address, it's literally money in politics. So we need to get out. We need funded elections, just like we see in Europe, and we need to be able to level the playing field. That's the only way we're going to make real changes, along with pushing for ranked choice voting and proportional representation. These are the things that will get us to where we need to be.
Absolutely. You have on your bio on Twitter, and please only get into what you are comfortable with and such, but you do have Me Too rape survivor on your Twitter bio. First of all, so much props for having the courage to do that, especially as a public figure. Are other women coming in to reach out to you to maybe share their stories, or what has it been like since you decided to come forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten the support actually of many of, you know, my sisters and femme siblings that have been amazing and very supportive here locally. I have had a few people who have felt comfortable sharing their stories and how, you know, me being a survivor and speaking out on it versus Tony, who has been accused of allegedly sexually assaulting a underage girl. You know, the contrast that they're really seeing, that that even though the charges were dropped under mysterious circumstances, I should add, that, you know, people still have those questions. And, you know, why are we being forced to you know, vote for accused sexual you know, predators? Why is that? Why are we being put in that position? You know, so I think that, yeah, women have been inspired to reach out, and they are grateful that, you know, putting that out in such a public platform, it opens up the wound quite a bit, but it also, I feel, empowers empowers me to be able to be open. This is not a secret, and this is not something that I am ashamed of, because this is not something that I should be ashamed of. This is something that happened, and that if my story can inspire somebody else, then that's great. And it's something that I feel women should be able to be open about, because this is something that is the truth. It happens. It's happening. And the sooner that we are able to bring light to this and to really address the problem, which is rapists, you know, the better off we'll be. So the first things first is we need to be out in the open about the problem, which is, you know, mostly, not always, obviously, but the majority affecting women and femme people. So we need to be able to raise our voices and come together.
Absolutely, 100%. Is there anyone who has approached you, not just on that topic, but on any topic, who has shared, you know, what they're going through, that's stuck in your head and you thought, oh my God, this is why I'm running. This person right here, this is why I'm running.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have talked to so many people, but like the stories that we hear of people doing everything right, like they went to school, they got the degree, they got the job, and they're still not able to make it through. Like those stories of people doing everything right, and it just goes to show you that, you know, they tell you here, it's like you just gotta work hard, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's all a work ethic thing, that it's seeing and hearing the same story over and over again of people doing everything right and still being left behind, then, you know, losing everything because they lost the job, or because they, even though they're not able to make the mortgage or the rent without losing something else, you know what I mean, making a choice. People who have literally sold their cars, sold their everything in order to hold on to their kid's tutor because they were having a hard. I mean, these stories of people having to give up everything to give themselves or their family an opportunity to advance. It's really tragic, because when you're hearing these things, it's like, these are the bare minimums that you shouldn't have to sell your everything in order to, you know, be able to pay for your medical bills. You shouldn't have to get into like a crazy amount of debt in order to get an education. So these are the stories that really like motivate me, because like, obviously, like we hear the tragic stories that really touch our hearts, but the fact that the system is set up that even if you did do all of the things that society or like the status quo tells you need to do, and you still don't, and how we as a society have been internalized it, and it's like, what did I do wrong? And it becomes like this problem, depression and sickness and illness and all the stuff that comes around after that, that in reality, this is the system. The system is built this way, and it's nearly impossible to really be able to succeed without so much help. You know what I mean? With me, myself, for example, if I didn't live in my parents' back house, you know, I would not be able to be running for Congress, because I just wouldn't be able to, because of cost of living. And if I was out on my own, for example. So these are things that, you know, being just a regular person, you know, it's crazy the things how we've gone into. One thing is just related to the other, and how the whole system is really created to keep us controlled, to keep us pushed down, and to internalize it so much that we feel not good enough and don't even push the system. Instead of like being out in the streets and demanding for representatives to do their jobs, you get a credit card and you go into debt, and you're silently like just suffering in silence because you're ashamed. You know what I mean? And that's where we're at. And it's really sad, and it's really disheartening to see regular people who have done everything right be where they're at, and we can't get past it. On my street, my generation, most of the people in my street that are my generation or so have not been able to move out. And many have moved, like they got married and they move in their spouse, and then they make their house bigger. And that's where we're at. We can't advance. And people on my street, let's say we're doing our things right. We went to school. We didn't get into trouble, you know, as young kids. So we did the right things, and we're still stuck in this system, this capitalist system that is built to make it impossible for the working class person to get ahead. If anything, it's actually, we're like on a downward spiral.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brent. I adore you to pieces. Is there a food is free program in the Cal 29th district? Also, hasn't there been terrible fires there recently?
There has been fires locally, but not in our district. But they have gotten pretty close. So thank goodness we have not. We actually just have gotten news that in Sun Valley, in my neighborhood, we have a methane leak that has been going on for at least a year, that LADWP, which is our utility, has kept secret. And if it wasn't for NASA, and I guess they are already keeping an eye out for these leaks throughout the world, we're able to identify this leak. So we're dealing with those issues. A food is free program, I haven't heard of that specific program, but I can tell you that there's a number of food distributions through the churches and through LAUSD. LAUSD is now considered, like, I believe, the biggest food bank in the country, just because of the amount of food that they have been giving out. And my family has been fortunate enough to be able to receive that help, and it has been a big help and amazing benefit. And so we're very grateful to the LAUSD grab and go program that, you know, all of LAUSD students have been able to have access to.
Awesome. What is something you would like to leave our audience with so that they could take away from this show and recommend you to people in California, or, you know, to share the stream? What's something you want them to take with them?
Well, one thing I do definitely want to encourage, and this is something that I want everybody listening to really think about, is would you be willing to run for office? Do you know somebody who will be great in a seat that in your community? Take a look around to see who's representing you, and are they doing a good job? I really believe that we need to seek out positions of power and occupy them. We need to be the power, not just fight the power. And this is something that I think that is coming to light a lot more recently. We are seeing people coming to the forefront and being able to take on these challenges. These are not easy fights, but they're necessary. And just because you didn't win the election doesn't mean you didn't win a battle and a fight. And these are fights that need to be fought. So I would want to encourage all of you to consider running for office, or to please keep an eye out for leaders in your community who you'd be willing to support. As far as our campaign goes, please check out our website, angelicaforcongress.com, and take a look at our platform. If there's something missing, shoot us an email. It's right at the bottom there. It's info@angelicaforcongress.com. And, we're glad to take a look at what you think is important that we're missing. If you want to help us out, if you're local, you can canvass. If you're not, you can phone bank. And so if you go to angelicaforcongress.com, click on the volunteer button, you can sign up there. And if you have some extra change to spare, donate to our campaign. We can do so much with very little. Every single penny that we get goes straight to the campaign. We are all volunteers. Nobody's getting paid. And we have a very unique opportunity here in California's 29th Congressional District. We have 2 Democrats. We have no danger of losing a seat or flipping it to red. This is a very unique opportunity. And this is a very realistic and winnable fight. The fact that Tony Cardenas has never been challenged from the left, and the fact that he hasn't run a real campaign since 1995, we can win, and we will. So, but we can't do it alone. So angelicaforcongress.com. I hope it can inspire your support. And if you're local, please, we need you to come out and help us put door hangers out. We keep it safe. And it's been a positive experience. Don't be scared.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. This was great. I always love to have people back, and what a great candidate. And you're one of the people I wish I could vote for, but I've never been to California, so that's not going to work. We need
I wish you were out here
in
too.
Pennsylvania. What's that?
I wish you were out here too.
Oh, I know. I would love to. There's so many burners in Cali that I'm just like, I want to go out there so bad. So thank you again so much. Everybody, please share this and hit the subscribe. Also, I created a new YouTube of my own as well, that I put over 300 of my prior shows on it from all different platforms. It's Savage Joy Marie Man. And I'll be doing some special things on that as well. Thursday, I have this week's news with Pat. And Saturday, Pat and I are doing a book release launch for our new parody book. It's a resistance parody and has people like Nancy Pagosi, Alyssa Shalano, Nira Tantrum, all your faves. And the main person is Nina Burner. So check out Saturday. We're going to have Ron Placone, Graham Elwood, Jordan Sheridan, Mike Figueredo from Humanist Report, multi-platinum band E6. Like, we have 2 hours of just insane talent. So that is 9 p.m. Saturday on my individual channel, Savage Joy Marie Man. Also, Pat and I were on Nina Turner's podcast, Hello Somebody, and that's going to be coming out very shortly. So watch for that. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the donations. And again, thank you so much, Angelica. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to come back. And I'm gonna definitely watch the book release. It sounds like a great time. Everybody who you named, I love, and it's gonna be amazing. So everybody, please make sure you buy it, you watch it, and we support, because we need to support each other, and that's the only way we're gonna win, is by supporting each other. So good luck, and I can't wait to read the book. It sounds amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Hans plays with Lottie, Lottie plays with Jane, Jane plays with Willie, Willie's happy again. Suki plays with Leo, Sasha plays with Brit, Adolf builds a bonfire and Rico plays with it. Whistling juice, we hide in the juice by the seaside. Whistling juice, we're kissing baboons in the jungle. It's a knockout. If looks could kill, they probably will in games without frontiers, war without tears. If looks could kill, they probably will in games without frontiers, war without tears. Games without frontiers, war without tears.